This is the MyHeart.net podcast. This show is produced by Dr. Philip Johnson in conjunction with VitalEngine.com. Please welcome your host, Dr. Alain Bouchard, of Cardiology Specialist of Birmingham, Alabama, at St. Vincent's Medical Center, part of Ascension.
Welcome to MyHeart.net series on healthy lifestyle. This is an excerpt from our interview with Dr. Martha Gulati, who's professor and director of preventive cardiology at Cedars-Sinai. Today, we're discussing the effect of exercise on a healthy lifestyle, and our podcast is titled Fit and Fabulous, Embracing Exercise for a Healthy You. So another way to lose weight is also to move more. We know that exercise is really good. It decreases stress, improves your sleep, improves your mood, improves your brain function, lowers your blood pressure, your LDL, it opens up blood vessel, improves balance, prevents falls in the elderly, decreases your blood sugar, prevents osteoporosis, decreases dementia. How come we're not all moving?
Yeah, that's a big problem. And, it's going to be interesting after this pandemic is over to see how little we moved, or maybe some people moved more, but we've become even more sedentary for many of us, just the way that we've had to work, even the difference between people not having to go into work or working remotely, even the walking that we might have done just to get to work has changed. So I don't know the answer entirely why we're not moving. I think our world is changing. Our types of work are changing, a lot more sitting at a computer. As a result, even when we get home, we're still, either whether you're on your phone, whether you're still doing work after work, our hours of sitting have just become prolonged. We send emails to people that might sit next to us. And so it's just, we can get things delivered. We don't need to, we don't do the things that people did it before. So I think this is the biggest problem. Now, in our guidelines, we actually talked about this because it's not just about the exercise that you do, that you intentionally do, but also just how much you move in general. And both matter, and both are significant, and both need to be tracked in terms of somebody who's trying to make a conscientious effort to do more activity. So I just started off, I think, by saying that, we recommend that you should do about 150 minutes of moderate intense activity a week, or 75 minutes of more intense, vigorous, much more vigorous physical activity. You can get away with less. But the reality is what we're recommending is just do something every day. So if you're someone who doesn't exercise, try a little bit of something. Try something that you would do. And that can be even things around your house count. So whether you like gardening, whether you, do like have some hobby where you can be in your garage and you're standing, those things are actually equally important, as well as you finding an exercise and raising your heart rate. Ideally, you do both, but we should be asking more about also what are the things you do every day? How much walking do you do in a regular day, even if it's not intentionally exercise? People sometimes tell me that at their work, they're on their feet the entire day, and that actually does count and is important. So, but we want you to move more, and that is really a big issue for our society as a whole, and being very creative and intentional about getting exercise should be everyone's goal.
Well, certainly the sitting is the new smoking.
Exactly.
And we need to get rid of the sitting. Certainly by sitting, you burn very little calories, maybe 1 calorie an hour, versus just standing, which is up to probably 5 to 7 calories an hour. And a lot of times we've been pushing these desks, that you can kind of lift, kind of adjustable. And instead of sitting all the time, you can be standing and doing some of your computer work that you need to do. And exercise is so important. So basically 30 minutes per day, 5 days a week is basically our recommendation. Do you have, we talk about moderate exercise. what kind of, you mentioned gardening, ballroom dancing, brisk walk. What else could we recommend?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you do yoga, that's something that is, we would consider the moderate activity. The way we define moderate is, again, how much oxygen or how much work does it take to do this activity? And so moderate activities are things like a brisk walk, biking, maybe 5 to 10 miles per hour, ballroom dancing, yoga, reasonably active yoga, recreational swimming. And so those kinds of activities are a good way of, finding something that you would like to do and enjoy doing and can do most days of the week. More vigorous activity is running or jogging, biking at maybe a higher speed than I mentioned before, playing tennis, so intentionally swimming laps. That's a more vigorous activity. But that's not to minimize, because at different ages we can do different things. That if somebody's doing some, walking and even golfing, I consider that more of a light activity. But something, like I said, is better than nothing. Because when we think about how we spend our day, just for people that don't know this at least was the data pre-COVID. And I'm thinking after COVID, during COVID, at least it's changed a little bit. Our amount of hours that we spend sedentary, really doing nothing, is about almost 8 hours a day. Then we sleep on average, not everybody sleeps 8 hours, but somewhere between 6 to 8 hours a day. And then the light stuff, the stuff that everyone tells me, like, okay, I walk at work, or I'm up about puttering in my kitchen, or, I'm preparing meals for my family, whatever. That's also about 7 to 8 hours a day. The amount of activity when people actually do intentionally exercise in the US, it's about 20 minutes for our whole population. That's not really great. But if you break down your day and you say, okay, I spend most of my time doing very little activity, making room for activity is a good thing. And the new guidelines that came out, we also emphasize, how do you get those 30 minutes a day? We used to say that at least 10-minute bouts would be ideal, but you know what? Now we've moved away from that. We have good data suggesting that even if you do it in smaller spurts, it's still a benefit. So whether that's being at work and you run up the stairs and that's one part of your activity that day, and then you do that multiple times, that's great. So keep adding up your time to be active, but don't think, when you can always make a few minutes for activity. It's just, where can you fit it in your day? And maybe you can't really find the 30 minutes in as a concentrated time, or even 10 minutes, but can you find 5 minutes? Can you find a couple minutes and just put them throughout your day? And that's a way to at least start fitting it in and not feel like it's a big burden. Because I know everybody's very busy and at different stages of our lives, whether you're taking care of small children, whether you're taking care of elderly parents or an elderly partner, we can all be busy. But and then our work in and of itself takes up a lot of time, but it's just finding where can you fit in everything and make it work to your lifestyle.
And usually the more, the better. It's as you know, Deanna, my wife, she does a triathlon, which is kind of swimming, biking, and running, at the end. And it's amazing to me every time I go to the award ceremony and I look at these individuals that have completed the triathlon, and I look at their age group, and all of them look like they're 10 years younger. So maybe exercise is the fountain of youth, maybe.
I think it is. I mean, we have such good, Deanna is like a superwoman. I don't know there's many people like her, but that group of people that do triathlons, I agree with you. I mean, they remain in such good shape, and they really don't. You see people doing this. I watched while I was in one, not the Olympic distance like Deanna does, but I was in the sprint one, and I watched a 99-year-old man finish, and I was like, kudos to him. He was just amazing. the more you do, that is the truth. There's this inverse linear relationship. The more you do, the less heart disease you're going to have, the longer you're going to live. So the more, we should all aim for more. But again, I don't want to discourage people that first of all, you can start at any age to start activity. There's no age too late, and you can get the benefits of exercise whenever you start. And some is better than none. And you'll start finding that once you start moving, you'll want to move more. You'll start, some people, if you're motivated by numbers, then, using a smartphone or a smartwatch or any of those Fitbits or apps that you can put on your phone that can track your steps, that can be a great way and a great motivator. Some people love that stuff. Other people will just like to know what time they left their house and when they came home. And either way, do something, get up and get moving, because it is really true that, if you don't use it, you lose it. And physical activity really is the definer for us. When we put people on treadmill tests, when we see how fit somebody is, it really tells us, we know right away that even if they already have heart disease, who's going to do well and who's not going to do well based on that. So that's why we push. I know a lot of people will say, I don't like exercise. Don't think of it then as exercise. Think about it as an activity that you're doing to preserve your health, and don't even call it exercise. It doesn't have to be the things we traditionally show images of people running or swimming and things that maybe you're not as comfortable with, but walking, cycling, stationary bicycles, yoga, Tai Chi, all of these activities can be really beneficial for you. And now, if you don't know how to do them, or you want to do them in the privacy of your home, this is the other thing. There's things online that you can access for free, many of them. Even the New York Times has the 6-minute workout that you can do anywhere. I use it when I travel sometimes, just as a way to make sure I did some resistance training. You can put it to whatever level you want, but it helps you just stay active no matter where you are.
You can see how exercise is so important, and probably it slows down the process of aging. Exercise is important. Moderation is important. In our next podcast, we'll discuss moderation in alcohol consumption.
To learn more from our team of cardiologists, please visit us at MyHeart.net. You can also follow us on social media by searching MyHeart.net on Facebook and Twitter. And be sure to subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss our next episode.